What is going on, guys? My name is Feeds, and welcome to Feeds Mindset, episode number 26 with the wonderful lady, Creamy. How are you? Welcome so much.
Hello, I am good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I meant to say welcome in. I don't know why I said welcome so much. It's been a minute since I've done these podcasts. I've been kind of stale for 2 or 3 weeks getting my new job lined out. So for anybody that's been enjoying these consistent podcasts, I apologize, but they will be consistent again. Just had a bit of delay. But yeah, so we're here with Creamy today. Something I always like to point out at the beginning of a lot of my podcasts, I like to establish the friendship that we have because my podcast focuses a lot on mental health and reaching out. And me and you obviously are mutual friends. We've both been in the CODCOM for a long time, but me and you don't really know each other. We've not played any games together. We're
You
practically
did clip me
random
once. You
people.
clipped me
Oh,
once.
that's right. That's right. I did. I hit that. I just now thought of that. I hit that quad Tom 3 on you and you DM me and you was like, "Did you clip that?" And I was like, "I sure did." It's crazy. It's a small world, man. There's a lot of cool creators. I mean, clearly a lot of people in both our friend groups both know you and I, so it was bound to
Mhm.
happen eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do appreciate your time being on. So obviously, I want to get into who you are. So I want to kind of currently talk about you. For anybody that's watching this that may or may not know you, I don't want to bring this up too much because I do still want you to feel comfortable. But you told me before this started that this is a big step for you. You're stepping out of your comfort zone and you're really identifying who CreamiClips is. So, I mean, how do you feel about that?
It's a very big step and it's very overwhelming, but it also feels amazing at the same time to be able to be my own person now.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm excited for it, and I'm excited for not only just everybody new, but of course people that have known you for a long time. I feel like that's what makes, or my nose keeps itching. I feel like that's what makes a lot of really good friendships is when you support somebody for so long. Like for an example, Envious, supported him for well over a
Mhm.
year. And then he ended up doing his face cam, and like 3 days after he did his face cam stream, he wanted to be on the podcast. And I was like, dude, you just opened up a whole new world and now you're ready to talk about who you are. I was like, I don't care. I was like, that's fine. And I think that's a really cool feeling, especially as a friend, is to watch your friends evolve. I mean, would you kind of say the same thing?
I guess I would.
Yeah. So trying to figure out how to word this. So, for obviously, regardless whether people know you or they don't, kind of tell me and give me an insight of who CreamiClips is as of today. How would you say you're viewed as today? What kind of games do you play, and where can they find you? Stream.
I do stream on Kick. All of my handles are all the same, so it's easy to find me on anything. I mainly do stream Call of Duty. Can't wait for MW3 to come out because
Yeah.
MW2 has gone to complete and utter shit.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Um, I did play Valorant for a while. It just Valorant, I can't play it for very long. It tilts me way too much. Also, the biggest phasmophobia sweat you will ever meet. I don't care who makes fun of me for that, but
That's funny. Yeah, my fiance, she plays a good bit of Faz, but only with her friends and stuff. When you
Mhm.
played Valorant, what characters do you play? Is there somebody that you like specifically?
I'm gonna get so much shit. I main smokes, so
Really?
I would either play Omen or Astra.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean that's a particular choice. There's not a lot of the only person, my buddy Neurotic, that I'm really good friends with. He's one of the only ones that really go smokes. And Leif eats lemons. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He fluctuates, but it's very rare to find somebody that's like smokes.
Nobody knows how to throw smokes, so I was
Yeah.
like, "You know what? I'll just play smokes. I don't care."
Yeah, I think Valorant is a really cool game because if you get into Valorant for the right reasons, especially mentally, it kind of teaches you the difference that you make. Like I know it sounds so silly because it's a
Mhm.
video game, but I would go. I'm a Sova main, so I would go Sova all the time, and people would be like,
Mhm.
"Yo, can you fill? Can you fill? Can you pick Sage? We need a healer. Pick a duelist, whatever." I'd be like, "No, I would go Sova every time because at the end of the day, when it's a 1v5 and I'm using an agent that I'm not, comfortable with, I would much rather
Yeah,
be in a situation where maybe my teammates aren't happy with my decision, but if I know what I'm doing, I'm happy with what I'm doing. Do you kind of feel the same
exactly.
way?
Yes. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, that's crazy that you main smokes. I think that's such a such like a throw off from anybody that
Mhm.
plays Val. It's kind of it's cool.
Oh my god, I
Um,
mean Jet.
yeah. So, and then talking about COD a little bit before we kind of go back into it. So you currently do you snipe on COD?
I do. I have only been streaming for a year, and I started about I think about like 2 months before, so I've only been sniping since June of last year, like June 2022.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. And I definitely do want to get into it, but I kind of do want to, now that we've kind of caught up to speed a little bit to who Creamy is, I want to start, going back in time and get an idea of where you came from. So, not the streaming and not your name or nothing, just gaming in general. How did you get into gaming as a kid to evolve to where you are today?
Growing up, I used to play GTA 5 religiously. Like, it was, like, story mode, finished it, and then I would, like, completely, like, uninstall it, everything, redo it, like, 4 different times. And then one of my, like, former friends was like, "Hey, like, come play Call of Duty with me, like, I'll buy the game for you, we can just play for fun." And I was like, "Okay." So I did that and bought it for me, and then the rest is honestly just history at this point.
Really? That's crazy. So, did you play anything before GTA 5? I mean, was there any consoles that you got into as a kid or anything?
I mean, I had an Xbox 360, and then I upgraded to the Xbox One, and now here I am on PC.
What'd you play on Xbox 360 when you got it?
Um, one of the Halos, I don't remember which Halo it was.
Hmm.
And then Minecraft. Had to start I feel like every single gamer has started on Minecraft.
It kind of shocks me because I'll see tweets every now and then and be like, people be like, oh, like Minecraft looks so fun, but I just don't know. Like 12, 13 years later after the game's released, like, it's like, can you not play it on your phone or something? Like, it's pretty simple to get into.
Yeah.
Minecraft is a really fun game, but I feel like this stage of the environment that us gamers and creators are in, it's so difficult to do anything on your own anymore. Like back, and
Mhm.
I played GTA 5 a lot. Probably not as much as you did from what what you're saying. But I'd finished it 2 or 3 times, and I got really invested into the stock market of the game. I loved going to freaking Cluckenbell or whatever it was called and blowing it up, and then I would like kill my character to respawn when time passes
Mhm.
and get money off the stock markets. That was always fun, but I feel like it's so difficult to be able to find that game to be like, nobody bother me, like this is what I'm doing for the next 10 hours. Like I don't feel like that can happen anymore. I feel like to have fun on a game, you kind of have to have somebody with you. I mean, how do you
You have
feel
to have
about
the
that?
right people with you.
Yeah. Are you upset that you can't really get that feeling of games like you could before?
Sometimes I really am, but it's like every time I meet somebody new in the community, I get that same feeling over again.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a good counter. If you're really invested into making friendships and sharing those experiences, I could definitely see how you can cancel out the factor of not being able to find something you enjoy and being able to replay stuff you already know, but watching other people enjoy it and
Mhm.
just kind of like knowing that you're there with them. It's surreal. Just like actually 2 streams ago, I played Minecraft Dungeons. I love the shit out of that game. I love that game so much. And nobody ever plays it because it's like $20 and it's not Minecraft, so people don't buy it. But my
Mhm.
buddy Noctum, he had it on Game Pass, and we played it for like 3 or 4 hours. And I knew everything about the game, but it was just so fun just watching him rage, and he would fall off the map, and he would get mad, and he would growl and stuff. And it's such a fun time, and I think those are the moments that I feel like so many people are missing out on. I feel like there's so many people, and we'll get into a lot about mental health and reaching out and stuff, but I think that's such a big factor is people struggle so hard making friends that they're not realizing that they're missing out on such important moments in their life that they would cherish forever.
Mhm. I think another big factor is that people are scared to branch out at this point. Like, they're scared to meet new people because they're scared that either they're gonna feel like they're leaving the people behind that they were already with, or the new people are gonna be not the nicest people, and they're gonna ruin you and everything like that.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a lot of corruption. I think that's a really big issue too with this gaming world that we're in, because people that when we was growing up, being 15, 16 years old, there was a lot of cool, genuine creators to look up to, and not like throwing shade on people now, but it it just doesn't feel like there's a lot of people at the top that's like influencers,
Mhm.
like Markiplier and Jacksepticeye. Like that, it doesn't hit the same anymore. And for people that are younger than us, have probably no idea who those people are, and I ain't gonna name drop anybody because I don't want to start any issue, but there's people looking
Mhm.
up to people that are providing them not the best environment, and then they're using that, and that's a good reason why a lot of people are toxic, in COD and Valorant, and throwing things and hate shaming people and trashing women creators and stuff. And it's a good part of it, even though it is their fault. A good part of it is the people that they look up to, which again is their fault. But at the same time, I feel like the tone that's being set is nowhere near what it used to be.
No, not at all. I completely 100% agree with that.
Yeah, so it does suck. It sucks thinking about it, because there's so many talented and creative people that really could make it, and they just struggle getting out of their shell, and a lot of people ruin their career before it even starts, because they don't even think about the kind of impact they're making. They just play a single game, and they get mad and they rage, and they have one big creator that's in the lobby, and they say something bad at the wrong time, and it just ruins them for the rest of their life, just because they was upset in the heat of the moment. Like I feel like a lot of people think with the wrong head, man, especially, they don't fully understand, the context of their actions. Do you kind of feel the same way? Do you feel like a lot of people don't really understand the impact they make when they say things and do things?
A lot of people get super mad heat of the moment. I know I definitely do get mad heat of the moment, but, like, I've grown to realize, like, I just need to mute myself, walk away, take a deep breath, and then come back. Like, don't say anything, just take a step back and breathe.
Yeah, I mean, I never had that type of issue. I'd never really raged that much at games, but a big issue that I did have is I would always stream negatively. I would stream in a negative mindset. Somebody
Mhm.
new pop in, I'd be all pissed off and stuff, like, oh, like, hey man, what's going on? Like, I would not provide the environment that I preach about. And there was one day that I just come up to realize, and I stopped my stream, and I was like, hey guys, I was like, this is not what I want you to watch. I apologize. I'm just going to take the night off, and I end my stream. And I do that a lot now. Anytime that I'm just not feeling it, an hour, 2, 3 hours in or whatever, and I plan on going for like 10 hours. And if I know that I'm upset and I know that somebody's not going to enjoy my content, I'll stop streaming, which is, not like as an ego thing to say like good job for feeds, but I feel like a lot of people lack that, discipline to be able to do that, because they're time limited, or oh, I have 50 hours that I have to work in the next 3 days, and this is my only time to stream. And I feel like a lot of people make excuses, and because of those excuses they put themselves in situations that made it a lot worse if they would have just grown up and just said, hey, I need to stop.
I think that's a big issue with a lot of people. They don't realize when they are getting bad, so they'll continue to stream negatively even if they started the stream off positively.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you see it all the time, and then it ends up getting thrown up on Twitter, and things getting taken out of context. And I mean, there's been so many creators that are in a certain context that it wasn't that bad, but because of the way that they got trash, because of the smaller context that hit harder for everybody, it kind of ruined them, and it's sad. And it's just there's there's not a lot of creators that understand the impact they make, and there's also not a lot of creators, and I preach about this a lot of times. A lot of people be like, hey, like, you'll see a tweet and you'll be like, oh, like, I'm going through something, I'm sorry for about the streams. And a lot of people will tweet, be like, oh, like, DM me if you need anything. And it's like, if you're an actual friend, you don't have to publicly tweet something saying, hey, DM me if you need anything. And this isn't to bash
Like,
anybody. I
if you were
mean,
my friend, you would text me instead of
yeah, like
publicly
it's
posting
not
that,
bashing
saying,
you.
"Are
I'm
you
not saying,
okay?"
yeah, like, I'm not saying that people are wrong for doing that, but at the same time, if you genuinely do care, then you would kill the thought of publicly people seeing you support your friend, and privately ask them what's going on. I've done that many times. Most of the time, it's usually just a thank you, whatever, and continue on about our day. But there's been really good times, and a lot of my really good friends that I have now that if I didn't take that time to DM them and they acknowledged it and wanted to tell me about their problems, I would not have those type of friendships that I would have today.
Yeah. You just have the people that want to care publicly so that they look good and so that they're like, "Oh, I care about you so much. Come to me. I care about everybody that comes towards me."
Yeah,
And
and
then they're the people that don't message back.
yeah, and I still do want to talk about a little bit more about your come up and streaming and stuff. But on this topic, I do want to get your opinion on something, with recruitment challenges. Clearly, you've been in some, you've been in the gaming space enough to see people going for challenges and sponsorships and stuff. I feel like that type of energy that you see goes on very commonly when there's some type of recruitment challenge going on.
Mhm.
When they know that these brands and these organizations are looking at them, and you'll see them tweeting a little bit more about how much they care about the world and how empathetic they are, and DM me if you need anything. And then the moment they don't make it or things go down, they'll just kind of fade away for like weeks, and
And
then
they'll go
like they'll
back to
say
their
nothing.
normal selves and not caring about anybody else but themselves.
Yeah, so I mean, what do you think about that? What's your opinion on that?
I think it's stupid. Like, if somebody's gonna recruit you, they should recruit you for who you are, not who you're trying to put a front on to try to be.
Yeah, and I think I've seen people that are who they are, that either tweet crazy stuff just because they think it's funny, not like bashing anybody, just like weird just things, like FaZe Khalil, or you obviously.
Guilty.
Yeah, like, just post like random sus stuff just to be funny or whatever, and that's fine. It's content creation, it's comedy, you're getting out there and you're just making people laugh and just
Mhm.
and there are people that do that, and there's so many people that do that stuff, and then you can automatically tell when they switch up and start changing up their content because they're going for something. And it sucks to see because like when somebody's saying like, oh, like I just want to find a brand or an organization that recognizes me for me, and then they're being fake that whole time during it. It's like, why? Like if your heart's in it, then why are you not putting you know your heart into it first? Why does that have to come second? Why is that a second thought for you?
Why are you faking who you are?
Yeah, it makes no sense, and there's a lot of people that do it, and I feel like a lot of people are afraid of being judged, but then those same people are always judging people. I mean, do you kind of feel the same way?
Oh, yeah. Because I'll tweet some out of pocket stuff sometimes, and then I'll go back to tweeting, like, normal content, but that's just who I am as a person. Like,
Hmm.
anybody who listens to my streams will know that that is literally me as a person.
Yeah. Yeah, so I do want to touch more on that, but I want to kind of finish up, where we did left off. So we did get into a little bit about your gaming. You've not obviously been in the space that long, so you don't have a huge history about it, which is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So now you've kind of got into a little bit of gaming. You understood Valorant. You got into COD. You played
Mhm.
GTA religiously for some reason. So get me into the aspect of how you got into streaming. Was it something you just clicked on? Did you have a friend that showed you one day? I mean, how did streaming end up being something that was kind of a hobby or a passion for you?
I actually was playing Call of Duty or Cold War just randomly, just by myself randomly, and I ran into Slight in a lobby and got to talking, invited me to his party. We started playing together, asked for my Discord, invited me to the Discord that he was in for I don't know if anybody really remembers it, but when Team NV was a thing,
Hmm.
and I became friends with all of them, and then I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get a PC soon." Like I already planned on it, and I got the PC, and they were like, "Why don't you start streaming?" I was like, "Okay, whatever. Like I'll start streaming." And then they were like, "Well, why don't you just join the team since you're already starting to stream?" And I was like, "Okay." And they were like, "Oh, go make a Twitter." And I was like, "Okay." And now here I am today, a year later.
Dang, that's cool. So it seems like they was kind of the stepping stones for you.
Mhm.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, shout out to them. I me and Slot go back pretty decent, and we're not like super super good friends, but me and him have
Mhm.
played some games and stuff a lot, and he's an amazing guy. Um, So yeah, I mean that's awesome. I'm glad that you kind of got those stepping stones to kind of get into being a creator. So I mean, how did it feel? You know, now you know you had this team and you had these friends and you had these connections, and let's just say for the first couple weeks, you know, it's all surreal to you, and you're just now starting to fit in and be like, okay, like this is my normal life. Like how did it start feeling when you just woke up one day and you're like, oh, I got to stream. I told them that I was going to stream and I forgot. You know, like when did that all start to kick in when you realized you was making a community?
Actually, when I did get my PC, I went through a very, very rough time mentally
Mm-hmm.
because I had a lot of stuff happening, like family-wise, stuff like that. And then my dog started getting sicker, and my anybody who knows me knows my dog was my absolute rock.
Mm-hmm.
So I fell into a really big depressive episode. So I left my job, didn't do anything all day. So I was like, you know what? I'll just full-time streaming right now. And when my mental gets better, I'll start working again. So pretty much every day, 8-hour streams just to make sure that my mental was like, I just, honest to God, it started as a distraction and
Mm-hmm.
now it's turning into something like I can actually see myself doing this and it is so much fun. And yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean that's awesome, and that's good. And a lot of people do start out that way as a getaway and stuff, but I think that's kind of the more important. You know, for me, that's the more important story is not the fact that it was a getaway and that you're upset that you had to use gaming to not think about things, but it evolved into not using it. It just became a time frame of realization for you to understand this is what I want to do.
Mhm.
And you know, I know that it gets climbed upon, especially by the older generation of us gamers and full time and streaming and all that. Like I know a lot of people have many mixed opinions on it, but overall, you know, being able to wake up and provide something to someone to where they're going through a rough time just like you. I mean, I'm sure you watch tons of streamers during your time of, you know, going through things. I mean, we all do now regardless of what we're going through. And you know, just having that realization factor of you're watching somebody, you're having just a really bad day and not feeling it, and then an hour or two later you don't even remember why you was upset. You know, like did you when did you kind of have that feeling? Was there any big streamers that started to realize like I want to, you know, I look up to them, I want to be like them and make a difference?
Um, Honestly, it was mainly just like watching my friends' streams.
Mhm.
And I was like, they look really happy. Them playing with me makes them look happy. Like just everything like that. Like it's just everybody else around me seeming to be happy to be around me made me climb out of that episode.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And like I said, I think, you know, back a little bit earlier in this, it's very important that, you know, it does stink that you can't play games by yourself anymore and kind of having that, you know, depression or whatever and just not feeling it, but being able to have that feeling of knowing that somebody's always with you. I mean, there's people that game and they play like the most diversified games differently from each other, and they'll still be in a Discord call just talking to each other, and they'll be, you know,
Yeah,
like
that's
they'll be
I
like
have no
complaining
problem
about the
doing that.
game or whatever, but they won't have no idea. And there's some people that don't even know the context of what they're doing. And they're like, "Oh, fuck you, you rock." And it's like, "Why are you upset at a rock?" You know, like what's going on? So I think that is very important. I think that's something a lot of people are longing for, and it kind of goes back into the whole mental health thing and stuff of realizing, you know, the kind of creator you could be, and a lot of people are just holding themselves back because they're afraid of how they're going to approach a situation, but they're not thinking how that situation is going to help them.
Mhm.
So yeah. So we've talked about your streaming, you know, getting into the team NV, reaching out to a lot of those people, and them kind of building your grounds up to understand the community that you're in. So let's finally talk about CreamiClips. Let's figure out, you know, how that came to be, how you got your name, and how you started branding and identifying as CreamiClips.
Well, I always get questioned, where did Creamy come from? So, it's not even as good of an origin story as everybody thinks it is.
Hmm.
I was playing my Xbox name was always just Kariri. Like, that's what everybody always knew me as.
Hmm.
And I was I one of my IRLs was like, "Hey, like, come play Cold War with me." Because that was when I first met them, never played with them, and I was like, "Sure, like, let's go play." His name was Booty Pebbles. And I was like, "Oh, I should make mine, like, food themed like that." So, Ergo, Creamsicle 69 was born. And then once I joined the comm, everybody just called me Creamy anyway. So I was like, you know what? I'll just change my name to Creamy. And here we are today.
That's crazy. That's a crazy story. CreamiClips is definitely a name that does not roll off the tongue. It's definitely something
Everybody
that's
always thinks there's like an underlying
yeah.
reason. There's really not.
Yeah, and I think like I feel like it's more unique, you know. Like obviously, I know I just said that it doesn't roll off the tongue, but you know, being able to be killed by somebody named Creamy, you know, like that's not a name that you really ever hear. And I think that's kind of what really brought me to feeds. Like, there's only 3 or 4 other feeds in the gaming world that I know. There was one, he ended up being really toxic and got canceled. So there's only like 2 or 3 now. But being able to kind of be one of the only feeds was something really cool because a lot of people couldn't relate to certain gamer tags or certain names and stuff. And it's kind of just like, you know, your government name, like, oh, your name's Tyler. Like, oh, everybody knows Tyler. You know, it's like, but being able to have a diversified name, I feel like we figure out how to word this. A lot of people struggle with creating a name for their persona, you know, that's not their government stuff. And a lot of people don't think into it, and I think that's really dumb because that you're giving yourself the opportunity to branch into something that could be amazing. And being able to really think about something that either you care about or just a backstory or just something funny, it's so important to have a name that sticks with you for some type of reason because when you finally make it, making that name is going to mean so much more. And I say this all the time in every podcast, but I am way more invested into how somebody got their name and how they came to be rather than just congratulating them for hitting 1 million subscribers. Like, I want to
Yeah.
know how they become and the grind and the work that they had to put in, and they had built their small name just for kicks and giggles, and now it's, you know, it's somebody that they look up to, an idol, you know. And I think that's very important, and I feel like a lot of people don't really understand that, and a lot of people name themselves like Appleberries or, you know, like Chinese dog or something, some stupid stuff, you know.
Oh yeah.
And like, I know it's simple and hypothetically it really doesn't matter, but when you're making a story and when you're creating this persona of, like with me with feeds, and you're creating your persona of Creamy, like, people now when they look at us, they don't, you know, nobody ever thinks of your government name or, oh, I wonder what she does for a job, or, oh, I wonder
Mhm.
if, you know, Feeds took his morning poop or something. Like, they don't think about that kind of stuff, you know. Like, they think about, like, damn, like, that's Feeds, he's a great guy, he's doing this podcast and he's doing really big things. Oh, there's Creamy, she fucking clipped me yesterday, I'm pissed off, how is she this much better than me, you know. And I think that's the important factor that a lot of people are missing, is your name will always stick harder than what you do with your name. Your name is what carries on. Your actions and stuff is just kind of like, it's just like music videos. You know, they hit at the time, they do well, but it's the titles of those videos and the artist behind it. It's like Logic. You know, when you think of Logic, you may think of a song or two, but you know Logic is somebody that you really mess with, or whatever artist or
Yeah.
creator, whatever comes with your mind. So, you know, what's your opinion on somebody that just kind of makes a name for themselves and they just create it? They don't really care about it that much. They don't really do any branding with themselves, and they just, oh, I'm just playing, and if we get somewhere, it is what it is.
Personally, the people that like don't put any effort into their name, like, how are you, like, when people want to get to know you, they're gonna ask you, how did you come up with your name?
Mm-hmm.
And you say, oh, it was just off a whim. Like, that's not a good backstory. Like, your name is gonna lose my interest.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it definitely does. And like I said, just hearing the background story of names is so cool. And that's why I always highlight it on this podcast, because that's something
Hmm.
I always want to identify, whether you think your story's dumb or whether there's not much to it, or there's some people that talk for 15 minutes about, oh, you know, blah, 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 blah. And this is how it came to be. Like, it's cool being able to understand those things and stuff. And, you know, for people that, you know, don't have a story or whatever, I mean, like I said, again, there's nothing really wrong with that. But at the end of the day, I mean, wherever you're trying to get to, you want it to have meaning, and your name is the utmost meaning that your story can have, because that's the persona, again, like I said, that you're creating for yourself. So yeah, I'm glad to get to know Creamy and how you would kind of came to be and how everybody kind of knows you as that. So I want to, we've talked about gaming and streaming and how you got your name and the importance that it makes. And now I want to go from the importance that your name makes to the impact that you make as a creator. I'm going to ask, of course, a couple questions just in general on the topic of mental health and stuff, because there's a lot of people that struggle with whether it's making names or just having somebody to talk to or to play with and stuff. And specifically for you, which I do this on every podcast, for the women creators, there's a lot of them that struggle and that deal with stuff that they don't have to, and that they shouldn't, and things that make their lives harder. So what advice would you give to somebody that is struggling and they don't know how to stream or how to make friends, or they're afraid of getting bullied or hate rated? I mean, what is your opinion to get them out of their comfort zone and to be themselves and be the creator that they really want to be?
Personally, it was so hard for me to get into streaming. It took the right crowd of people and the right amount of bullying, I guess you can say.
Mm-hmm.
Not really bullying, more just like heckling me into it.
Right.
But it just took the right amount just to get me enough confidence to even stream. Not even with a face cam, nothing, just to stream. Just because I was like, nobody's gonna watch me. Nobody's gonna care enough. You're never gonna know unless you take that leap of faith and actually start doing it. Like, building the support in advance is nice, so you have them already in your streams, but at the same time, having one person and building your stream off of that one person and going into other streams that you don't know just to say hi, like, can we play sometime? You don't know where any of those can all lead. Like, who knows? Maybe someday you can make it onto the, like, the what is it called? Like, the front page, I guess you can
Mm-hmm.
say, for Kick. You can make it on there. Great advertising. You can How many people are gonna join you? You need to make yourself, like, n unique and more noticeable as opposed to the streamer that's next to you.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
it's and being a woman creator, having female friends is a lovely thing, don't get me wrong. Me personally, I've had more than one problem with a lot of women in the community. I have absolutely no hate towards any of them. I don't even know why half of them don't like me half the time. Because they know my name, they don't know my story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also hoping this podcast helps with everything with that as
Yeah,
well.
sure.
Like, just surround yourself with the people that you think are best for you. Like, would your parents approve of the people that you're surrounding yourself with? Not, do you approve of them?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a very impacting story, to make, because there is, and you were definitely not the first that's tried to, solidify things and make things, make a change, being on this podcast and being able to open up about yourself and stuff. It's very important, and a lot of us get into these dumb dramatic arguments over nothing or over just stupid stuff, and like hypothetically, like, it doesn't help anybody. It makes no difference. We both go on with our lives and just dealing with pointless things and drama just because you don't like somebody's opinion or whatever goes on in your life. Like, at the end of the day, we're all trying to grow and we're all trying to be something. And that's why, I made this podcast. I want to make a change. I want to highlight creators. I want to get them to talk about themselves, share it with their community, and to understand that, if I can do it, so can you. And just like I said at the very beginning of this, me and you don't really know each other as far as a friend basis or whatever goes, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's being able to break that barrier and get a new friend and having another connection. And so now the next
Mm.
time that me and you see each other in our chats or for playing a game or whatever, it means more. And that's all we can hope for at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, when time goes on and everything's left, your name is all that matters. What you did is all that matters. The impact that you made as a creator is all that matters. And if you spend all of that time that you could do good and just focus on petty drama, stupid stuff that doesn't affect nobody, you're wasting time that you could use to prosper as a creator, to, kill the friendship or the beef that you had, to get your friendship back and to have that. Because there's
Mhm.
been so many people that I've lost as friends just because they're in their own head, or they don't see it my way, or they're just not feeling it, or, oh, they're in their own world or whatever. Like, that's fine. And you can give them space, But at the same time, if you want to be that somebody that's there for somebody, you don't have to wait for them to go through something to reach out to them. And I think that's
Yeah.
something that's not normalized at all. And I think that, plays into mental health and everything, um, and to networking. And so to bench off of that, not knowing the kind of impact you make as a creator, I want to ask you kind of two questions. And one is, what does networking mean to you and why is networking so important?
Networking means, like, to me, branching myself out, getting myself out of my comfort zone. Like, I've my whole life, I've always been very sheltered, very like, if I have friends, I have friends. Like, I don't want to branch out. But with networking, you have to be able to go out of your comfort zone and meet, oh, this is my friend's friend. Oh, this is my friend's friend's friend. Like,
Hmm.
you're not going to get anywhere without networking. Um, what was the second question again?
It's just why is it so important? Why is networking important for creators, especially those that are in an early stage trying to get out there?
Oh yeah, especially in an early stage. Like, where are you going to be without networking? Like, keeping your friend group, cool. Their friends come in, cool. More people come in, cool. But you're not going to get anywhere if you stick in that little bubble. You need to go out of that bubble. Like, you have your friend group you play with every day, cool. Play with another person the next day. Play with another person the next day. Like, you're going to get a different audience from each person that you're with. So, there, ergo, networking. Like,
Yeah.
you're not going to get anywhere without it.
Do you think a lot of people make a mistake like that, only playing with the same people every time just because that's who they're comfortable with?
Yes, 100%. You can't play with the same people every day and say, oh, I'm going to grow.
So, what advice would you give to people that either struggle just making connections in general, or struggle not being with their duo every single day, or somebody that makes them comfortable? What advice would you give for people to step out of their comfort zone, even just to send a simple DM saying, "Hey, I seen you post a tweet saying you're playing Cold War. Can I tag along?" Like even something simple like that, people struggle with. So what advice would you give to that?
Don't be afraid to be yourself around new people, because if they're not going to like you for who you are, they're not going to be a good friend in the end, anyways. Like, go play that game. Take that leap of faith. Like, the stairway to success is not a full set of stairs. You're going to fall down one step, you're going to fall down 5 steps. You're never going to go up completely.
Yeah. Definitely. And I think that's a very important factor, because I feel like a lot of people, especially that do struggle with making those connections, like, when you're playing with a friend group or just meeting a new friend in general, like, you automatically know if you vibe with somebody or not. You can, especially a lot of people that have, like, I don't know, terminology and stuff, but like that can sense things, like, to have those feelings. And there's a lot of people that get that, and they know, like, oh, like, Feeds isn't good people. I don't like the way he holds himself. But then they
Mhm.
will continue to jump over that and just close their eyes and pretend that nothing's happening and go on about their day like they're having a good old jolly time, and they won't mention it. They won't complain to nobody. And sometimes they'll even go and play with the same person the next day, even though they know that they don't like them, but they're also afraid of being alone. And I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of people struggle with that, and a lot of people struggle with speaking up. And I get it that it's hard, but at the same time, something that we was talking about a little bit before we started is just like you've barely been on Facecam just a couple times. You, as Creamy as what we're seeing today is not what's normalized of what you've built. And so that's kind of my highlight is I get that it's hard, but it's really not that hard. Like, do you agree?
100% agree. It took so much out. Like, I had this, it sounds so bad, but I literally, my first face cam stream, I set a goal for myself. Like, I have to reach, I don't even remember what it was. I think it was like certain amount of followers on
Hmm.
Twitch. I was like, if I reach this certain amount of followers, I will do a face cam stream. We hit it. I put it off for so long. I remember I was texting Milks and I was like, girl, like, I can't. Like, this is so nerve-wracking. Like, I am petrified to even hit the start stream button. And she was like, she doesn't even stream with a face cam really, like,
Hmm.
ever.
Right.
So she was like, "Just do it. Like, you're never gonna get anywhere without doing it." And I was like, "You know what? Fuck it." I did it, and here I am today.
Yeah, and I mean, there's creators that's been out there 2, 3, 4, 5 years in streaming without a face cam, and there's a couple out there that don't want their identity. There's some that just genuinely like
Yeah.
that's how they want to be known. Even somebody just like my buddy Noctum I was talking about, he streams with face cam, but he has a mask on, and that's his
Mhm.
identity, and that's what he likes. There's nothing wrong with that. But for the ones that do want to get into that world and do want to show that face cam, but they're struggling just exactly with what you struggled with, what advice would you give to them to finally stop holding yourself back and because when you have face cam you branch into so much more content than you could ever imagine, because and that's always my complaint that I give to people that don't stream with face cam is that there's nothing wrong with it, but you have to be a lot more upbeat of a streamer than what you would be with your face cam, just because all people can guesstimate off of your stream is how vocally you're being on that stream, and that's the only way they can sense if it's cool or oh this is fun to watch. And if you're just stale and boring and not talking all the time, it's nothing. But even though it's kind of the same as a face cam, it does create that different environment of at least people can see that you're upset. It's a lot bigger difference of you just slouch back with the camera off and you're just playing, you're like like this sucks. So what advice would you give to those that do really want to face cam, but they're especially with women creators, they're like, oh, like what if people are going to call me names, what if they're going to say something? I mean, what's your advice on that?
Yes, you're gonna get called names. Yes, you're gonna get the people that are going to make fun of you. Yes, you are going to get the bullying, the hate, the everything that comes with it, especially as a women creator. You're gonna get all the men that come in. Oh, you're fat. Oh, you're ugly. Oh, you're so terrible at this game. Like, it explains it. Ignore it. Just ignore it. Like, it's not even worth your time or energy to read that. Like, just delete it and go on with your day. They're never gonna come back. They just wanna get in your head. You just can't let anybody get in your head when you do that.
Yeah.
And with the actual streaming portion, you have to make yourself 10 times more, like, entertaining and I do myself 10 times more exaggerated when I'm streaming just because that's my thing. Like,
Hmm.
I feel like that's unique to me. Like, I'll dance on my bed in the middle of stream when I feel like I don't have energy. You don't get the same excuses as you do without streaming with like, streaming without a face cam. Like,
Definitely.
you have absolutely no excuse to have no energy at all. Like, I get it. You didn't sleep good. You're super tired after work. Drink a G Fuel, have some food, get yourself some energy, or just don't stream with a face cam that day. Like, and nobody's gonna be mad at you if you don't stream with a face cam for one day.
Yeah, definitely. And on that topic, I feel like this is something nobody really ever talks about. And that is very, very heavily should be normalized, especially for new creators, as mods. I know it sounds so simple at the time, but when you're a new creator and you're automatically having those feelings, oh, what if they call me ugly? What if I get a hate raid? What if somebody comes in and I'm just awkward? What if they want to play with me and I don't really want to play with them or whatever? Having one dedicated person that you can trust that just has an extra 15, 20, 30 minutes to chill out in your chat and moderate it for a little bit is so important. So I mean, what advice would you give to people that are afraid of that, but they also do have the utilities where they know that their friends would support them and moderate and help them if they go through those times, but let's just say they're afraid to ask.
When it comes to streaming, honest to God, cannot have no fear. Like, you can't fear anything when you stream. You gotta be bold. You gotta just ask them. If they're your friend, they'll completely 100% support it. If they're not your friend, get rid of them. Fuck them. Not worth your time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree definitely. I think I feel like that's kind of the one of the last topics to end off. I think that is the most difficult thing that most streamers deal with, whether you're new or whether you're old, is cutting those ties and getting rid of people that you do care about, but you also know that they're a bad influence. What's kind
Mhm.
of not like I don't want to get into drama, but like what's your experience with that? But like, what is your advice to somebody that is going through something and they have somebody that they have a lot of great memories and stuff, but they're just noticing every single day they're kind of distancing more and more apart, and they start getting to dumb little arguments of they're playing Warzone and they're like, put a plate on. They're like, I don't have a plate. It's like, yes, you do. Like, little stuff like that. Like, what's your advice when you start realizing the friend that you met a year ago is not the friend you have today?
Just because you have history doesn't mean that it's going to stay the same. Each and every day, every single person is changing no matter who wants to acknowledge it or not. You are not the same person you were yesterday. They are not the same person they were this morning. You have to go off of vibes for each and every day. That's exactly what I do. If I don't like somebody's vibe for the day, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to talk to them. I'll wait till tomorrow and see if they're in a better mood. Or even if I'm in a bad mood and I just don't want to talk to anybody, I'll just be like, okay, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Like sometimes I'll be straight up about that too. And they'll be like, why are you acting different? Why are you acting weird? And I'll be straight up with them. I'll be like, I haven't been having a good mental state lately. Give me like a couple days and I'll be back to normal if you still want to be my friend. Sometimes it takes actually stepping forward and saying, like, why are you acting different? Why are you treating me differently? And if they say, no, I'm not, stuff like that, that's your sign. Like, maybe not that, but
Right.
if they don't change back to how they were, bye bye.
So do you think if people start incorporating, and I know it sounds so dumb, but like being honest and just telling if you had a bad day and you'd be like, hey, just please leave me alone. Like I know a lot of people are scared to say that, especially to their friends, but do you think that people could save their relationships if they would just be honest and just say, hey, I just had a bad day, please. I know that you want to help, but just leave me alone. You know, like do you feel like
Yes,
people should incorporate that?
110%. Nobody is, I don't want to say nobody.
Mm,
Not everybody is honest about how they're feeling and how their emotions are. Like, you'll get the, I'm fine. I'm
hmm.
good. I'm chilling. I know you're not. So tell me what is wrong, or I will leave you alone until I feel like you are doing better. I don't want to like pressure you, and I don't want you to feel like you're being pressured into telling me something that you don't want to talk about.
Yeah,
I just
definitely.
wish people would be more honest about everything.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that it definitely would help make the world go round. And again, like I said, it would save friendships because I mean, you know, even though it does stink to know that there's like, you know, because I'm like, oh, like so and so dropped him just because he wasn't talking to him, even though he had a good reason. Like, yeah, like to an extent that is very bad, but at the same time, it does play both parts because if you're not really good friends, there's a lot of people that'll just drop you like that. And there's people that are like that, that are good, genuine friends, but it's just because of their own insecurities and the way that they've lived their life. Some people are just like that because they're used to being around that and they're used to dropping people like that because nobody's there for them. And I feel like that's kind of like the other side of the shoe that a lot of people don't see is that they're like, oh, like, well, you just don't want to deal with me. And it's like, no, I've lost too many and I'm tired of getting connected with you just to lose you.
I also want to say it kind of pertains to it, but it kind of doesn't. You're never going to know somebody until you walk a mile in their shoes.
Hmm.
So you can't be quick to assume that somebody's 100% okay when in reality, behind the curtains, they're bawling their eyes out because they think you don't like them.
Yeah, definitely. So that's one of the before we end off on here, the last question that I did want to bring up, revolving around mental health. People that struggle, you know, with depression or just having a rough time, lost a family member, and not feeling it in streaming or whatever. What is your advice for people that want to take a break so bad, but they're also worried about everything that they built, and they're worried that nobody's going to be there for them when they come back, or they just don't know how to handle it, and they just religiously stream, not thinking about it and not being entertaining at all.
Personally, I did take about a month and a half off. Like, I still tweeted every so often just to be like, hey, I'm alive. I'm okay. Like, I would still play almost every day. I just did not have the mental capacity to be able to have the energy to stream. And let me tell you, it was the most freeing experience I have ever had. I was absolutely petrified to come back just due to the simple fact, like you said, I'm not going to have anybody to support me. But that's also where networking, like we were talking about
Hmm.
earlier, does come in handy. Like if you're networking enough, you coming back to streaming after a mental health break, nobody's going to be mad at you. Like everybody nowadays understands the problems with, oh, I'm not having a good day. Oh, I'm not having a good week. Oh, I'm going through something at home. I don't know when I'll be back.
Yeah.
Like at some point in time, somebody's gonna like, there's people that have gone on mental breaks and still haven't come back. And as soon as they come back, everybody's gonna support them all over again.
Yeah, and it's kind of
Nothing's gonna change.
yeah, and it's kind of what we talked about a little bit earlier too, saying like it's a lot more important to watch your friend go through something and grow and make it somewheres. And I think that's kind of the thing too. Like people that do genuinely support you, yeah, they're going to be upset because they don't get to play with you and see you every day. But the moment you come back and you're like, hey, like I'm ready to go. Like let's make some videos, let's play some card or whatever. Like your friend's like, oh, okay, fuck it, yeah, like let's go. Like and I
Yeah.
like that is the uniqueness of having a friendship, networking and building actual connections is when you want to come back, you know that there's people that hold that same energy that's ready to go right with you. And there's some people that's been waiting for that so long. And there's people that don't have friends out there. So the moment they get somebody like that, you're like, oh, like yeah, like I fuck with you. Like let's go, like let's head into let's play Warzone. Let's get a fucking dub, let's shit on these kids, and like
Mhm.
that's what makes the backgrounds and the stories and the friendships so much more important is to either be there or just know that somebody's going through something. And a lot of people get caught up because they're like, oh, like I wasn't there for him when he needed me. And like to an extent, it's all situation dependent, depending on how bad it was. But most of the time, it's usually what hits them the hardest is who they can come back to. Not who was there with them, but who can bring it back and act like nothing happened. And I feel like there's just a lot of friends that are out there that are not real, and they're just kind of there for the ride, and they're like, oh, like oh, you're at 40 views right now, you're killing it, and the next day they're like, oh, dang, your noti must have not went out today. You only got 8 viewers in there, like you can see the change, like you can see
Mhm.
the difference in the friend and stuff. So do you think that's very important to be able to struggle with depression or whatever you're going through and to be able to come back and have that friend in that game or, you know, to whatever to be able to come back to and feel proud about and be excited?
Oh, yeah. 110%. Like, you're not gonna get anywhere without that one friend. Like, yeah, you can have 20 million friends. You can have a million subscribers on anything. But that one person at the end of the day, who's gonna be there for you?
Yep. I think I feel like that's kind of the trending topic that's happened for the past 2 to 3 years. It's just people that are, up to their walk to fame and getting where they want to be. And they're like, when you see them, they tweet out things are funny or like, oh, that's interesting. But when you really think about the creator themselves, you start realizing they don't actually have nobody. Like everybody's just a bunch of people that write them because they have good views or because their stuff's popping off. And it's like,
Yeah.
you start to wonder like how many people would actually support them if their name did not get to where it's at today. And I feel like that's a big factor that a lot of people don't look at. And it kind of goes back into what we were saying super early on about people looking up to creators that are creating a bad influence, getting them to not be the type of creators that they should be.
I had one of my viewers, his name is Josh. He's gonna watch this, so I I gotta say his name. He asks me almost like once a week when he can tell like I'm not 100% me. He will ask me, he goes, Creamy, would you rather have 500 viewers and no one chatting or one viewer and one person chatting the whole time? And that's just something that sticks with me every single time.
It's important. It really is. And I think that's the biggest thing, especially for creators. You adulting and being out of the gaming world and dealing with life and work and your car payments and your house payments and stuff, like it still does kind of like gaming is a getaway, but there is a big part of gaming that you still have to be a grown-up. You have to know when it's time to put your foot down, when it's time to talk about something, when it's time to stay quiet. There's a lot of things where gaming is not just simply play some games and have some fun, as much as everybody wants to say it was that back then. It's not now. That's not how you grow. It's people just can't have fun anymore, and it does stink. It stinks that that's the way that the world is. But the difference is not being able to grow and have fun. Is the difference is people are seeing the kind of creator you are and the impact that you make, and people will always stick towards more to the people that they know care about them rather than the ones that they're just having a fun time. And oh, if you show up to the stream, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think that's about everything. I think we've covered most things. So yeah, I really appreciate you being on. Is there anything that you know that excited that's coming up for you that you're excited about that you want to bring up and share with your community?
I did just restart my YouTube. I posted
Nice.
my first MW3 video this week, and I will have an MW2 video next week. I'm gonna try and be good about going once a week, just because I got that final push that I needed to be like, gotta restart my YouTube, gotta restart my TikTok. I wanna like actually like get back into everything now.
We're gonna start seeing some face cam content from you.
Maybe.
One step at a time, Beads. Calm down. I get it. But I do appreciate your time. Before we end off on here, you know, everybody that's listening and that's watching, I appreciate you guys always for watching, sticking through, and getting to know the background of Creami. So Creami, for everybody that's watching, is there anything that you want to end off on? Any last words that you want to say for everybody here?
Just because you're getting bigger, don't forget where you came from. Yeah, everybody's gonna change, but just because you have history doesn't mean you shouldn't move on.
Yep, most definitely. All right. Well, this has been episode 26. You can find Creami in her little Twitter handle below or in the description. Go check her out. Thank you so much for being on. You've been wonderful. Appreciate everybody for watching. I'm going to try to be a lot more consistent with these. Like I said, I just been dealing with work and stuff, and I kind of got my schedule that I'm kind of understanding now. So I want to get back into this more. And also some new stuff. I'm going to start doing live streams of podcasts. Not really like this, more of like the normal podcast. But there's a lot of cool content that I want to do. That will in the future include, you know, people like Creami and everybody else that's been on here before. So I appreciate you all watching. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Feeds Mindset. This has been episode 26. My name is Feeds, and I'm out, guys.